name is Mrs. Jacqueline Onyango. I'm the Senior Deputy Director in charge of Basic Education Curriculum Development at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. The Institute of Curriculum Development is charged with developing curriculum for all levels of education except the university. So our interest is pre-primary education, primary, secondary teacher education, and we also have a component of technical and vocational education. We also deal with learners with special needs. So looking at the diverse nature of education learners in Kenya, the learners who are hearing impaired are under the special needs. And for us, it is important that all learners are able to communicate. Now, there are learners who communicate differently, who are not the regular learners. One group is the visually impaired, and we have the learners who are hearing impaired. For the learners who are visually impaired, they actually read through Braille. So they may be able to speak, but in terms of reading, they read through Braille. So as an institute, we have developed a curriculum for Braille literacy, starting from pre-primary all the way through to the above classes. We have also developed the curriculum for Kenya Sign Language. Kenya Sign Language is particularly for the learners with hearing impairment. Now, the learners with hearing impairment will do English and they'll do Kenya Sign Language, but the regular learner will do English and Kiswahili. So the alternative for the learners with hearing impairment is Kiswahili. is Kenya Sign Language. So they will not do Kiswahili because of the way the language is spoken. Now, when you look at the Constitution recognizes that Kenya Sign Language is a language. So we have English and Kiswahili as official languages. We have Kiswahili additionally as a national language, but we have also recognized, the Constitution recognizes the Kenya Sign Language as a language. And that is why we have provided for the learners who are hearing impaired. But we've gone a step ahead, because we are saying if there are learners who are hearing impaired, they will also be communicating with those of us who are not hearing impaired. And that is why you will see when the hearing impaired are communicating, there is usually a sign language interpreter. That sign language interpreter will watch what the hearing impaired, the signs they are making, and translate them into words which they speak to us who are not hearing impaired. So in the same vein then, to ensure that we support the people who may want to do sign language interpretation, we have provided in the curriculum again, all the way from the lower levels, from the grade 1. We have provided for the sign language so that children can learn sign language. At the grade 4 and above, it is an optional subject, which means just the way they can choose to do foreign languages, they can choose to do the Kenya Sign Language, so that they can also be able to understand the language, speak to the hearing impaired, but beyond that, they can take even that interpretation as a career. And that is very important, because then it enables us to communicate with the diversity of abilities that we have. Now, today is the World Language Day, and we as a curriculum center also recognize that. Now, language is actually the mode of communication that you would have to be able to pass information from one person to the other. And so as a country, we recognize that we have 44, 45 different languages, and that is what makes our heritage. That is what brings in the diverse Kenyan culture. The 6th goal of a national goal of education indicates that we should be able to help learners to appreciate Kenya's rich and diverse cultures. Now, language is a very strong component of culture. And so in this regard, we have again gone a step higher. We have the language policy that requires that children from grade 1, 2, and 3 are taught in the language of the catchment area, assuming that these children are coming from a home where they are speaking a certain language into a school in the same region. So if it is in rural areas, for example, and the language of the catchment area that is dominant is the mother tongue of that place, which would be, for example, Kikamba, then we are saying that if that child, the language they can speak now is Kikamba, allow them to be in school speaking Kikamba as they pick up the English and Kiswahili at that lower level. In areas that are urban and cosmopolitan, the policy provides that the learners can actually be taught in English or Kiswahili because they may have either or of those languages. But we have gone further. There's a curriculum then for mother tongue. But at grade 4 and above, we are saying we have actually provided a curriculum for indigenous languages. So these indigenous languages mean that a child may choose to learn Kikuyu, Kikamba, Kiturkana, Kima. So if the children want to learn that language, then we need to provide a book that the children can use, which a teacher may also have to be able to use it. So it is opening up the space for all of us to learn beyond that one language that we know, which is now our mother tongue, so to speak. And when we do that, because when you learn the language, there are very many aspects that you are learning. That is how you'll be able to appreciate the culture in terms of the intonation of the words, whether they have long words, they have short words, then you are able to appreciate that culture. And when you learn the language, then you learn a little more about that group of people, and so you are able to learn the culture. So we are proud that on this day we can be enjoined in the world that is celebrating language by saying that Kenya has recognized the importance of our diverse languages, and we have been given provision in the curriculum that our children can learn these languages in school, so that as they get out of school they are able to speak their mother tongue, because we don't want to forget our languages. We don't want to lose our languages. That can only happen if we give them opportunity to learn those languages.